everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the University Malaya Star Series webinar, where we speak to institutional and academic leaders shaping University Malaya and the academic world. And today we are very fortunate to have with us today, as I mentioned earlier, a very wonderful fatherly mentoring personality with us. We have with us someone who will be talking about becoming a tale of academic leadership. And that person is none other, although you cannot see his face right now behind the mask, Professor Dr. Kwan Hoong. Many of us, of course, know Prof. Ng. Many of us, especially those from the medical faculty, have actually had the pleasure of being mentored by Prof. Ng himself. But just as a way of introduction, as a formality, allow me to mention and introduce Professor Ng is, of course, the Merdeka Award recipient of 2020 for Outstanding Scholastic Achievement. And earlier on, before that, Prof. Ng is also a recipient of the Marie Sklodowska-Curie Award in 2018 for his contributions to breast cancer research and radiation medicine, education, and leadership. So we definitely have someone with us who is really almost the epitome and exemplar of an academic leader. Prof. Ng has also in his academic life, and still doing so, providing a lot of extensive interdisciplinary contributions in breast cancer, biomedical imaging, radiation safety, and risk communication, as well as COVID-19 most recently. So, ladies and gentlemen, profs, Dr. Dato, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here today. And I would like to ask Prof. Ng, can you tell us and share with us, how did you become, can you share your tale of becoming an academic leader?
Good afternoon, colleagues and friends. And thank you, Dr. Amira, for inviting me for this talk and also for the introduction. And as you mentioned, there'll be a tale. So I'm going to tell you stories about how I become an academic leader. Okay, so let's start now. Becoming interesting. We always become somebody, become a leader, or whatever it is. All of us were young once upon a time. That was me. Can't remember how I was. Do you remember there's an old song that still keep coming to my mind? I'm sure you remember that. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. The future's not out to see. Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And that will tell us the future is so uncertain. But could we chart our life journey? Yes, to some extent. As I continue growing up in school, primary school and secondary school, and then here the picture shows I was just graduate, was teaching in a school, still young, and also started my undergraduate study at the University of Malaya, doing some experiment. Still, this curse Sarah comes to my mind. What I'm going to do after my graduation? What future do I have? Now that reminds me of when I was in the secondary school. It was a Methodist boys' school in Kuala Lumpur, MBSKL. A chemistry teacher, Mr. Chong. It was something I still remember, and many of my classmates remember, that whatever you do, it doesn't matter, but excel in that. So be it you be a teacher, a lawyer, a singer, a minister, whatever it is, excel. Just put your heart in that. And that is a pretty good advice for growing up kid like me. And then I continue in between my path different ways, and that was my PhD graduation, receiving my scroll from Tuanku at the University of Malaya, can recognize the UTC. And then now is what I am today. Probably less hair, you can see that. Now that is more than 60 years of my life, and about 35 years in the academia. You can compare the journey, is mine and a lot of people, is quite treacherous. You can see the path is not smooth path, winding, going uphill. Look out for the roots. You might trip over the steps. I know this kind of terrain well. I enjoy walking in the jungle. I used to take students for a jungle walk. And looking for adventure, as me, you can see in the dinosaur area, always look up. So life is such a way as you grow up, whether in academia or you might choose to be in the industry or the business world, is really full of challenges, a lot of uncertainties, obstacles lying ahead. But nonetheless, you succeed. Now, why did I become an academic? This Snoopy is my favorite cartoon. I was fooled by the job description. We always think, oh, it's good to be a lecturer, good pay, right? Long holidays, just give lectures, better than school teachers. Many were drawn to that. It's interesting to look at the origin of the academia, and that is a famous philosopher, Plato, right? Started is 385 BC. It's almost 2,400 years ago. Academia, this is a suburb north of Athens. And you can see these learned people, these learned other philosophers, and get together, discuss. Right? And so today, we have our PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, the knowledge, learning. Notice the center, and that guy probably, I suspect you, those days there's no pen and paper, just inscribing, chisel, his CV tablet. That is interesting of academia. We should enjoy what we are doing, be very passionate in that. You look at these two pictures. This is from pick up this magazine, Economist. A gardener and a miner. They were so happy, right? Today you think, oh, there are many tasks, right? Don't be one. They enjoy. They serve the society. They do good, right? They really have enjoyed themselves. But as we assume most of you are academics, we are academicians. We are very fortunate because we have been paid to do what I like to do, isn't it? Like those of us enjoying doing research on something, and we've been paid, even grant money. We teach, we do research for the whole life. That is fantastic to me, right? And always envy those, for example, in the creative arts, the musicians, poets, writers, right? They are paid full-time job to do the research. That's their creative activities. So we're passionate whatever we want to do. Now, working in academia, we all know that it's very full of woes, frustrations, and dilemma. I can see, right, in today's climate is funding issue, lack of fund, lack of recognition. Salary is pretty low compared to the industry, the private, and teaching workload is heavy. And we have our KPI papers got rejected. Lots of issues. It's frustrating, let alone how to become an academic leader. But I always believe and encourage all still be happy, be passionate we do. Now, when I was young, even in undergraduate time, I always want to do something practical, useful to society, that's impactful. I just want to study. Anyway, I took up physics as an undergraduate. I was fascinated by that. I had a very good physics teacher in school, Mr. Lu, and that inspired me a lot. Uh, it's driven by curiosity. The physics is find out about the universe, about the atoms, about how things work. Then, now what do I do then? I was in a dilemma right after graduation. Oh, this is the physics knowledge, and was combining with medicine, with healthcare. So that is a medical physics. It was pretty new then, over 35 years ago, in Malaysia and even in the region. Pretty new. No one have heard of it. Uh, when I remember when I did my postgraduate in Scotland, in Aberdeen, I came back for the Unis Hospital, then couldn't get a job. There's no such destination, it was unknown to them. So I ended up doing something else. I was teaching in a college for a few years. So that is the price to pay. You go into something is very new. And today is established. It's very much demand, and it contributes a lot to medicine. Now, along the way, I have very good mentors, those who guide me. And one was Professor Tatut Laiming Lui, is was distinguished professor at University of Malaya as well. Did my PhD with her. And mind you, it's a unique PhD is in the field of pathology, right? Not in physics or medical physics. There's no one here to guide me. Along with Professor David Bradley to help me as a consultant for that. And all this year under her, I was still working as a scientific officer in the department, and the importance of integrity in doing research, the integrity, the honesty, the ethics. So I learned, I still remember the advice from Professor Louis. And another mentor who was spending time at the University of Wisconsin in the United States with the late Professor John Cameron. He was an inventor extraordinary. Right? You probably know about the bone densitometer. Right? You look for osteoporosis, particularly for women. He one of the co-inventors of that, and many other things. And his famous advice: if anything is worth doing, it is worth doing it badly. Now, he was citing from G.K. Chesterton, famous British writer, and also is apologetic. Uh, Seems contradictory, right? Why should you do things badly? What it actually meant is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it, right? No, just do it. Those of you, my young one, remember, right? The Nike, right? The slogan, just do it. So, no, there's a problem with many. They hesitate. Oh, let's spend more time. Let's get more grant money. You keep on procrastinate, then you never get it done. So that it is advice I still remember. I still impart it to my students and my mentees. In academic world, in our portfolio, right, we all emphasize a lot about, oh, we are a researcher, right? But we also should be a good teacher as well. We teach. If you don't teach, then you can't be a good researcher. And Ernest Rutherford, one of the Nobel laureate in physics, is once said, a scientist who can't explain his theories to a barmaid doesn't really understand them. The barmaid is going to a lay person, talking someone who hasn't gone to university, right? This lay person. So we have all the fantastic theories we learn, right? We can't put it to a level, explain to our neighbors, people in the street, then we don't really understand that. So that is important to bring our knowledge in the universities regarded as ivory tower to the people, to the community. After all, our research fund, even most of us are funded by the taxpayer money. So some are interested in education training, and I started the Master of Medical Physics program. Then it was new then, almost 22 years now. And then that is not, remember my teacher in Excel, right? Make a difference, not just another master program. And I work very hard get this accreditation from the IPM, the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Messen, since 2002 until today, right? We have re-accreditation successfully. And that is the only program outside UK and Ireland that's so accredited. It's a prestigious program. We benchmark with those at the universities in the UK, and UK being one of the pioneers, extremely high level in medical physics. But that also comes with a lot of sacrifices. I was the only one running the show. It's a one-man show. A good view of people from US, Wisconsin, and from UK to help me to do. Now, that remember 20 years ago, right? And we started using e-learning. Right? We've gone back a long way. So we do this tele-teaching from US, from Australia to help me to boost up the teaching quality. So we need a lot of courage in that, and also the conviction that it will succeed, and then the confidence with this help. But sacrifice, great sacrifice. Forgo my sabbaticals. I was asked to stay back. If I leave, then they have to close it, and then it's hard to revive. So I serve under very good deans, and one of them in the VC, Prof. Zaini, Tan Sri Muhammad Amin. So all these were very, very supportive. And then I could recruit the junior one. They were sent to UK, to Australia for the PhD. So while waiting for them to come back, I was holding the fort, so to speak. So that is a great challenge to see how it remains such a very high standing. We attracted a lot of international students and more, and will be a regional center of excellency. So that is the education. Along the way, I made the coursework of 100 over master students, the project with me, but I'm very proud of my PhD graduates. The bottom three are ongoing. Most of them are from the physics engineering background, some are radiographers background. Do you notice anything special of my PhD students? The only one male student. And it's not Malaysian, it's from Iran. Safari, he did very well. He's in Germany now. So mostly girls. It's quite interesting. And the last one, the right, is from China, as well, back to China. And one, Rosalind, is did in RISCOM from the social sciences. So I do venture beyond the physics engineering, but into other fields as well. Now, this is interesting. Also interested to mentor beside the PhD and master, those young ones who approach me for advice and help. And that started the global mentoring program. And let's listen to this. This is from the physics world, the audio recording, and that will best describe what this mentoring program is all about.
My apologies, everybody. I just realized that you're not able to actually hear the audio. So if I can just try again. Let me just stop sharing, and then we will start sharing again, and hopefully that will help with the audio. Apologies for this, Prof.
Okay.
I'm sorry to everybody watching. It's a lot of things that we just don't expect sometimes.
Hi, Hamish.
Now, Tammy, you've been looking into mentoring this week, and specifically a global mentoring scheme for early career medical physicists. Can you tell us a bit more about this program?
Okay, so this is a global mentoring program set up by Kwan Hoong, who's a medical physicist at the University of Malaya. Now, medical physics has got its own really specific challenges because it bridges both science and healthcare environments. So the trainees have got to learn to work and research and interact with many different types of professionals in a complex hospital environment. So Ing hoped that the mentoring scheme could provide young medical physicists with guidance and support to help them progress their career, and in particular to help them develop leadership skills.
And so how does the mentoring scheme work? What's special about this particular scheme?
Okay, so they set it up so there was one permanent mentor plus additional mentors from various countries and institutions who took part in discussions and provided advice. The initial group of mentees was made up of 16 people. So this is medical physicists, postgraduate students, plus an early career researcher from countries in Latin America and Asia. And then to establish relationships between the mentors and the mentees from all these different places and countries, the program used e-mentoring, which is basically video meetings, online group conference calls. So basically the things we're all using now. But this approach is particularly useful to support people in developing countries, perhaps where medical physics is just starting up and there's a lack of experienced people to guide these early career medical physicists.
And so how did it go? Is the program a success?
Yeah, so the program started in 2017 and ran until this year. And then the team has just published a research paper documenting their experiences. So at the end of the program, all of the mentees were asked to fill in an online survey, and over 80% of them said the program had had a positive impact on their personal and professional lives, and said they gained knowledge and skills from the mentors. So some of the positive aspects that they described included things like increased self-confidence and less anxiety about moving to new career stages, learning to handle international meetings, improving leadership skills, and gaining a global view of medical physics. It also gave them a way to seek professional advice and learn from each other, with over half of the mentees formed research collaborations with themselves and the mentors, for example, publishing work together. Overall, the conclusion was they definitely recommended that mentoring should be implemented as an extracurricular activity wherever possible.
Wow, that sounds really useful both for the mentor and the mentee. Is the scheme continuing?
Yeah, definitely. So the team plans to expand and diversify the group with getting medical physicists from other continents to join in. So they're looking at people from Africa and from Europe. And what was interesting was that most of the mentees, so over 80%, said that they had a goal of becoming a future leader and they wanted to carry on participating in the program. So perhaps it will be self-perpetuating with mentees turning into mentors and helping to coordinate activities in the future.
Wow, that sounds like a fantastic program. You can read more about this in an article that Tammy has written for the Physics World website.
Okay, that gives a pretty good description of this global mentoring program that I started. It has mentees from Latin America, from Africa, Europe, and majority from Asia. And I encountered the first batch, I was in the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, teaching there. I got some of them involved. Also, the regional meetings in Southeast Asia, the Indonesian students and other countries they were excited about this program. So you can see it's from we mentor the mentees, they themselves go mentor the new mentees. This is how we train the future leaders, not only in the specific in medical physics, but also in general. And for example, in 2 weeks' time, we have one session on conflict resolution, and this is very much needed in workplace, in anywhere else. And the very important message, I always believe it is from this little prince from Antoine Saint-Exupéry. As for the future, your task is not to foresee, but to enable it, to do it. Remember John Cameron said, just do it, right? To enable, to make sure they happen, not just fold our hands and say, oh, wait, let's see what's happening, where it will take me. But we just go for that. And this discipline is marvelous. I mean, translated to so many languages. The book encourage you, if you have read it, recommend it to your students. They will benefit from that. Let's talk slightly about my research. The medical physics is about applying the physics engineering principles in medicine, like those like CT scan, MRI, ultrasound, also radiotherapy, nuclear medicine, and many. These are the core areas we are proficient in. We work along with radiologists, oncologists, nuclear medicine physicians, surgeons, and practically various aspects, various disciplines in medicine. Now, I have an interest in breast cancer. Recall Prof. Louis, right, pathologist, my PhD mentor, supervisor, and was working with her on breast cancer early detection. We look at the tissue and we look at the mammogram. You can see that it started in diagnosis, a mammogram, early diagnosis of breast cancer. And in medicine, it's just not diagnosis. Early, you can prevent, you can predict. So some of my research are moving in that direction, as well as moving the other direction of in therapy, in prognosis, in monitoring that particular disease. Now, though my main areas in breast cancer, but nonetheless, I also have branched off to other aspects in the kidney, recently we started on with thalassemia and different aspects of it. And this is one of my very proud of this paper from Lancet Oncology, highly priced journal, talking about the standardization of clinical breast density measurement, along with two breast surgeons. And then another one, medical physics is my profession, the creme de la creme, the top. And is invited to write this Vision 2020. You have to be a leader in your field, a visionary, so to chart the path, right, where would this breast density lead to. By the way, the breast density just indicates the amount of the tissue that are likely to develop into breast cancer in the breast. So it's just ways to estimate as accurate as possible and relate with the status person. So and also its clinical significance, whether could it be used for to predict any additional risk to breast cancer. So this is another my humble achievement in this area. So that was the research, and I came up. It is also people coded because breast density can be altered. Breast destiny can be altered too. You can change the destiny of the breast. Now, there are some ways you can, like our lifestyles, our diet, we can change the density. So the higher density, the higher risk. Let's just briefly, right? So if one has high density, we can modify, we can change it. Of course, there are some chemotherapy agents as well, but those what you can do from a sedentary lifestyle to one more active exercise and proper diet, and others could change that. So there is a lot of research in this area. Now, we need to work together with other people. Research is where we label together, collaborate, come together, labore, labor, the Latin, collaborate, labor, work together. So these are my international collaborators across the whole globe, down south from New Zealand, Australia, and in North America. Some there are University of Malaya professors and my colleagues. It's an amazing team of people I work with. It is fun to work with them. And these are some of the more recent team members. Probably you can recognize some of them. So I have a crossover from medical physics in medicine to Danny Wong in the social sciences. Because you have here Dr. David Yong, linguistic, and Dr. Adit in biomedical engineering, and various people, my collaborators. So I also like to thank them for working with me all those years, and we have produced pretty good results, good papers, have fun in that, and presentation. Most something we hope the work that we do have impact on the society. It's just more than publishing in a journal. These are you can see the countries where the team is a team effort in different research areas I'm doing from different parts of the world, literally across, right, from down south, down in Australia, New Zealand, down to North America and those countries in between. And I learned a lot from them, the different culture, different style of doing things, and you would not that straightforward as well. A lot of challenges. Sometimes you just pull their hair out, less hair now, perhaps. Some didn't work out, right, for various reasons, but that is the way about research, right? You search and search, right? You search for people who work with you of same interest, and we search for the truth, right? What is there, right? So and my collaboration continue, and halfway through the COVID, thinking why not we chronicle what we have gone through, what we have contributed, the innovation that as a physicist in the whole world. So I round up quite a lot of people, land up with this book, which was launched March 18 recently. 91 contributors from 39 countries. It's amazing. We have my co-editor, Professor Madalena Stova. So we have to really coordinate working with people from all the world. And we also fairly geographical balance and also gender balance. 36% are female authors. So we look at our clinical practice, how it affected us, how we overcome that, and then education, we move on to the e-learning mode, and also how we continue to do some research to some extent, right? We're limited, restricted to the labs and to the hospitals as well. So look at the very proud, my collaborators, the authors come from those countries highlighted in blue, 39 countries. So in a way, we promote the solidarity and understanding, right, of how we can work towards a common good for humankind. We put our resources, our thoughts together. So this book will serve as a very good document for the world to learn from. And perhaps all these various stories and my experience to tell you that a true leader brings people together. Can see this cartoon illustrate the people all disparate different ways. You can bring them together, working towards a common good for humanity. And on the research collaboration, also was active in organization, and I was the founding president of the CFORM, the Southeast Asian Federation of Medical Physics. And that was the founding fathers and mothers. We took the picture in 2003 in Bangkok. But the organization was formed 3 years earlier. And also in 2014, got a group of people, we started this ACOM, the ASEAN, the College of Medical Physics. It is a college, an institute for training, for learning. So continue to work on that. And also I was one of the founding members of the AFORM, the Asia Oceania Federation Medical Physics, right? The bigger regional organization. So from that, I had to work with different leaders in the medical physics in the region as well as in the whole world. Now, along the way, that's interesting, right? We have done this, we have published in top journals, all the research, but somehow I felt we could do something more than that. And Mahatma Gandhi is one of the writing 7 social ills. One of them, science without humanity. So we can do science, but without thinking of the humanity, how it benefits the human society, and that, well, to him, it's a sin, it's a social sin, and it's really doing injustice. And look at the other things, quite interesting, very philosophical, and it's true, right? Like commerce without morality, politics without principle. So Gandhi was such a universalist, as the man for all seasons. And we still benefit really from his wisdom. Now, when I was appointed as promoted as a professor, finally, many trials, about 16 years ago, and University of Publishing that this at the helm, right, this book, a hard copy book, each professor will say something about him, photograph, his brief biography, and also a chance to put out what you believe or your motto. And I quoted T.S. Eliot, a very well-known literature giant. Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? And where is the knowledge we have lost in information? It's from his poem, The Rock. And of course, this is just excerpt from that. The whole poem is very meaningful. And today's age, right? You see, we have so much information on a mobile phone, all the AI and all that technology. We are flooded with information, lots of webinar, right? People tell you. And we have webinaria, a word I call even diarrhea, webinaria from attending all those webinars, suffering from indigestion. So isn't it, where is this knowledge we have? We don't have the wisdom. We look at the world today, right? It's still full of turmoil. It's really pretty sad to see. And where is the life we've lost in living? Where is the meaning of life? So what would the science contribute to the well-being of the human society? And that really, I put it in, and it is my belief until today, I want to do something good. And some of my journeys, I travel a fair bit to teach. Zimbabwe, this is Victoria Falls, my privilege, the side trip, one of the poorest countries in the world. And I was there, it was the ending part of the famous man, Mugabe, was finally ousted later. It's a very poor, one of the poorest country, the children, and you know what these people are doing down there? They just didn't have money to buy newspaper. In the morning, I would just walk around from a hotel. You just look at it, right? They dare not touch it as well. You touch it, to buy. So just look at the headlines and walk away. Right? This is how poor they are. And now this is I was under the International Atomic Energy Agency to help them to start the master program. Uh, this is the top university, National University of Science and Technology. Look at the roads in front of the main building, like our chancellery. It's not even tar, right? They don't have, it's just mud road. But they were very good people. The students enjoy teaching, and some of them are still corresponding with me. I learned a lot from this very humble lifestyle, right? And we have in Malaysia, and we are much more fortunate materially. And look, these people are they're happy. Another country that also experienced is Nepal, and also under the IAEA mission. And by the way, along my former to teach to help them to start program, quality assurance program, I also have my another mission, my charity work, which my wife have been doing for years. So I take opportunity to work with the people. But I can see there I was teaching in a hospital, a bunch of doctors, and interesting in the street, you can see how these two ladies squeezed into the van, right? We seldom have that now. And I had the opportunity to go into one of those two, just to experience how life is. It is important. You need to go down to the level to understand how people live, how they think, the different culture, to experience that. They will help us to appreciate life better, right? Don't take things for granted. And Fukushima was another mission under the IAEA. It's very fortunate to be one of the experts. We have formed a task force to study why they happened in all aspects. So I have a chance to work with a team of people, not only radiation experts, but you have psychology, psychiatrists, and public health, and who look at the consequences of the Fukushima disaster. And the picture on top shows how in the local setting, in the different towns, they were helping them. They're trying to recovery, the healing process. It's such a traumatic experience. So many of them were so dedicated. Many of the doctors, the surgeons were working with that voluntarily. And I was there for several, almost every year we went there for meeting, for some survey. And you see that whole area is called desolated. This is another thing we have learned a lot from my colleagues in other disciplines, and also really salute the people in Japan. They've gone through the first, you have the atomic bomb, right? Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and now we have another nuclear disaster, the Fukushima. They've gone through this hardship, but still they're so strong, so resilient, they bounce back. Oh, that led to my so-called recognition. 2013 was voted as the top 50 medical physicists in the world. There's a 50 years of the International Organization of Medical Physics formation, so they awarded the top 50, and this is the mark shots of those outstanding contribution over 50 years, right? It's interesting. I was the one with the circle of the red, and amongst those recipients of that, two Nobel laureates, right? So you can spot them. Okay, two of them contribution in MRI, and many really the very top physicists in the world. Right? So it was such an honor and also a very humble experience to be listed alongside with my colleagues in the world. And then the so-called pinnacle of my academic career came when I was nominated, and then I was successful with the recipient of the Marie Curie Award in 2018. And the conference was held in Prague, in Czech Republic then. So my whole family went there and receiving that plaque from the president and the award committee chairperson. So that Marie Sadowska Curie Award was not just on research alone. If it's just on the research, no way I can really compete with all the very top, the American, European physicists. The huge amount of grants, whole rows of postdocs, and that is research, education, and in leadership. The contribution in these three areas. That was really award that I didn't quite expect that it bestowed upon me. There's something special about that. I'm the first from a different country. The previous six of them are all from America, France, Germany, and UK. All these very prestigious, very well-known physicists in the world. From an Asia, from a different country, is something that many of them didn't quite expect that happen. Our ambassador, a Malaysian ambassador, was planning, came to the award ceremony. She came with her secretary, standing beside me on my left here. And then later, it was during Puasa month. We had breakfast, Puasa in the residence of the ambassador. So and my fellow Malaysians there, my family and two grandchildren, my wife and daughter. Oh, by the way, my daughter also is an academic at the University of Malaya. So that was a very joyous occasion. This is, sorry, jump a bit. Typical Malaysian style, right? We celebrate our joyful occasions together and with food, lots of food. We brought lemang and all that from Malaysia somehow. We managed to pass through the custom, and the ambassador staff also enjoy about all this real lemang and rendang from Malaysia. So there's a very close, and it's all this remind always be grateful to be gratitude. People help us. Of course, we thank God we are alive, we are healthy, and people who helped us, our family, our friends, even the students, important. Don't forget, people help us, like say in the lab, the technicians or whoever helped us when we were student once, and now we are big shots or professors or whatever. Don't forget they help us. Gratitude to them, to appreciate, to thank them, and even sending a thank you card. Perhaps I'm the old-fashioned, still send a card, people, just a simple, and they'll appreciate that. Now we never send any card. It's all WhatsApp and email. But think about that and count our blessings. And here, a photograph of my parents who passed away, my father and mother, and my daughter, and also my wife. So they were also very supportive of my academic career. Without them, I wouldn't be what I'm today. So would be grateful always. And finally, that was the Merdeka Award, as Amira mentioned, the last year for outstanding scholastic achievement. And that is also something that I didn't expect. There's so many great people around Malaysia. Due to the pandemic, the ceremony was postponing from last August to December to February. Now probably we go back to the Merdeka, that is in August this year, to receive that award from Tuanku. And I have a chance to meet up with Vice Chancellor, Prof. Datuk Hamdi, and show him that the trophy, the award. First, I have the unofficial first before the official ceremony. So that was this very meaningful, and it is really achievement to the University of Malaya, and I'm thankful. But during the COVID, like most of us are locked down at home, well, really frustrating, right? Can't get to do our research, teaching for a while, and then later got back to e-learning. So it started this looking at the publications. We have to weekly update, and even today, sometimes a bit late, but weekly, we scout all the literature, not only science and engineering, but in social science, humanities, public policy, medicine and health, and highlight some of those, giving our comments. And it is in a web page, COVID-19 bibliometrics.org. And also the Ministry of Health in Malaysia also have link to that, and also showing the trend. So got some of those people involved from the Department Faculty of Computer Science there to help to. So that is another collaborative effort in this. So the whole idea is to get people aware what are the latest findings from the journals. These are credible journals, in a way to fight against this misinformation and disinformation. The fake news is so prevalent today. And that project was working with Prof. Madhya Narizo Adi. Thinking we get together. He was one of my best students ever. Thinking of this, developing the thermometer. We call it Sauna 32. Right? I don't know why it's a low tech, but not just fulfill the shortage then, but because there's plentiful, but really to develop something local. I got his colleague engineer to help us, and eventually we have more features. We want to teach school children how to make it himself. Right? It's a way to promote STEM. Right? You go to the school and you 3D printing the shell, the casing, and the different, put the components together and test it. And then we really want to, all this to donate to the aged care homes, to the orphan homes, and so on. And so that is a project that we started. Of course, all this will not result in publications in WOS Tier 1 or Tier 2. But anyway, they are meaningful, impactful result. It will have impact to the society. So the last few parting words about adaptable. It's important. Notice, or I described the early beginning, the various challenges, set up master program, and many more. But learn from Charles Darwin. It's not how strong we are, but it's or how intelligent, but adaptable to change. The change is important to the circumstances. And I wrote this tutorial for my professional magazine last year. Right? As we usher in 2020, are we still relevant? Relevant to what we do? This is modified from this, the story about who moved my cheese. Right? Instead of going around the maze, and why not think out of the box, get out and look far. Oh, there's a cheese, no one knew, but instead of going for the rotten cheese, fighting with each other. And that is an important message I like to convey to my students and to my colleagues as well. So beside this research, very academic, we think we're very serious researchers and lecturers, but we are more than that. Time for creativity, and that is important for drawing, singing, writing, knitting, or baking. My colleagues, during pandemic, they learn to be good cooks. So lose ourselves in something creative to find inner calm. And this is important. Most of us are under stress, students, lecturers, and people, and all this second way, third way. We are all so stressed up, so worried. So we need to look something for inner calm. And it's important. And who knows, we come up with solutions to various problems. And there is interesting quote just from The Guardian, from Sharon Walker, January this year. I really like it. Right? And this is what I believe in and I practice. And you will see me some jogging around the University Lake. And I indulge in writing, not so much of academic. Look at those. I was in my first book in 1985, a long time ago, in Malay. Pengaturan computer dengan logo was the first so-called AI language. It's interesting, LOGO logo, and that was Apple logo. Apple computer just appeared. And I was involved in the Kamus Bahasa computer, right, with two colleagues. as well. So this is my indulgence in writing, my hobbies, and this first picture book of computer in English, in Mandarin as well. That was a big hit then. The first new computer was new those days. So I enjoy getting a lot of ideas from working with children. They're great. Their minds are not ruined, not spoiled. So what are my main message to the young Malaysians? I put that in the Merdeka Award souvenir book. Set your eyes on your aspirations and be courageous. Even if the path is turbulent, adapt to changes, but always be a person of integrity. Wow, I guess it's so of course you aspire, right, to do something like the Sarah, what will be. What do you want to aspire? You want to be a leader, you want to be a successful banker, go for that, right? And be courageous. And remember, it's never a smooth path, right? It's always turbulent, turn, maybe obstacles, you fall in the hole and get up. And change, the world is changing so fast, right? We have to adapt. And don't forget, integrity is important. And this also I put in the Merdeka Award souvenir book of my personal philosophy. Right? They allowed that organizer, to each recipient to put it. So mine with humility, gratitude, and charity. And probably you can see this throughout my life journey, the adult life journey in academia. To various extent, you might see some of those, but I'm still lacking in some of it. It's a continuous journey, a continuous improvement. And it's very much of my philosophy and the leadership style influenced by the St. Augustine. Humility is the foundation of all the other virtues. You have all the virtues, being kind, being empathy, but even the humility, then the foundation will not be there, will be shaking. So finally, leave behind with you my quotation. I would like people to remember me for this. To achieve more, we should imagine together and change. Right? The change is important. So much so there are a lot of seminars, books about change leadership, the change. But make a difference is important. Whatever you do, a difference to make life better for other people, and also make life always to be happy. Right? This is important to be happy. Oh yeah, just remember some of these things come into my mind now. The saying I read long ago, so, in the university days, what is life there is if there's no time to stand and stare, right? Isn't it? We're too engrossed in chasing whatever we are after, then no time to just stand and stare, look around, talk to people, chat with people. But you still get back to the meaning of life. So with that, I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ng, for sharing your tale and your journey, and really for giving us inspiration and I think a little bit of outlook on how you actually became an academic leader. I'm going to now stop sharing, and then we can have a nice conversation.
Okay.
So, okay, there we go. So, Prof, I have some questions that I would like to ask. So many, actually. It's all over the place now.
Okay.
But just to let everybody know that if you would like to jump in, if you'd like to also talk to Prof. Ng, please feel free to either raise your hand in the MS Teams, of course, use the hand raise function. Or if you are unable to get our attention for that, feel free as well to go ahead and unmute. and go ahead and speak. And at the same time, if you do not have a microphone and you would like to ask a question or leave a comment, feel free as well to type into the chat box. I'm actually taking a look at it right now so I can see a few thank yous coming in to you, Prof.
Okay,
so we've got somebody saying thank you. They're very honored to be able to attend the talk. And also, we have a message saying that it's a very inspiring and meaningful talk. And again, another one saying such an inspiring talk. And we actually have our first question, so I will let Prof. Ang Pei Su's question go first before I ask my questions. So, Prof, we would like to know, someone who is so busy. Well, I would assume somebody who is very busy because you're doing so many projects and you are, of course, collaborating with so many people and doing so many things as well as an academic. Can you share with us? This is the question from from Pei Su. What's your typical day like?
Oh, well, because of this collaboration, right, from one end of the earth to the other, so my day is a bit long. Sometimes I have to get up quite early morning to catch conversation with the other side of the world before they go to sleep. Or for example, I've been following the WHO, the DG's briefing on the COVID-19. So that's about 1 a.m. So I'll just stay up. What's the latest? Now the downside is it ruin your health to some extent. So remember I said sacrifice. So that it's difficult. It depends how much you're willing to sacrifice. I hope comes some balance. It is important about this busy. I believe a lot in time management. I took a course, a professional course. I'm very good on time management. I invested a lot of those and to learn and to work with this colleague. You need to build up the trust. Is important and to be very frank with them. Right? Communicate with them either phone call, teleconferencing, or email. And once we build up the trust and we identify our common goal, what we want to do, it will be easier. Otherwise, we end up with the team members who arguing each other, controversy. Who should be the first author? So that has happened before. So it is really part of this collaborative efforts. We have mostly successful, enjoyable, but we do have some which is really didn't work out well.
So what do you do, Prof, to bounce back from those efforts that maybe didn't work out so well?
I try. I mean, I'm a pretty patient person. A lot of drive belief in that. Contact them. Most of the time, phone call is effective to explain because I deal with people from different culture and different ways of working. Even what we understand each other to them is a different meaning. We try to recover or rebuild the relationship. It's very important. It's a two-way conversation. You need to both must shake hands. Many of them do work out well to restart program, but some didn't. We just say bye-bye and happily, peacefully. Yes.
Let bygones be bygones.
Right? Yeah.
Prof, you're a medical physicist, and you work in biomedical imaging. So I imagine these are things that you don't really get in touch with the person, the patient in front of you so much. I imagine, but how is it coming from this from this field where you don't really need to meet people in a sense? How are you coming from medical physicist and medical physics and biomedical imaging? How do you come from there and cultivate such humanity? Because throughout your entire talk, and I'm sure all of you have noticed it as well, I just see that element of humanity in almost every single slide.
Amira, it's an interesting question. But interest, goal in life is to do good for human society. And one thing about using like CT scan, X-ray, the X-ray is as some element of hazard. So by training, teaching the radiologists, radiographers properly, they will ensure patient safety. And my motivation is that if we can do the research well to train them so that the image they get will be of the so-called optimal quality. They can make an accurate diagnosis. They won't miss the cancer there. So that is important. Knowing that it's just not doing technically, play around with knobs, right? Thinking how this will impact on the patient. Imagine the patient done the mammogram, and, oh, no cancer, yeah, normal. But then it's there, but the X-ray failed to pick up that cancer. So she went back thinking, but then the cancer will grow and then be too late, the misdiagnosis. So with this, I always tell my students that this is how we should think. We might do technical thing, research, but eventually it has impact on the patient's life, patient's well-being. And that is this. And then I thinking, oh, beside this research, you have done this, you've done that, you're publishing very top journal, but it's good to beyond that. For example, like the Fukushima project was in IAEA, that was very meaningful. I work with different people. We go to the ground level, visit the people, and see how they live, the fear. Because I work with a bunch of social scientists, psychologists, historians. It's quite interesting to learn from. We work together, team, how we contribute our different specialty to produce a report, to suggest the recommendation to the Japanese government, to the people there. And this is how I see the science goes beyond just science, but it goes to work with the non-science people, the social science, humanity, and to benefit all. And this is the way to go, interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary approach. And this is where the University of Malaya and many leading universities in the world are heading to more impactful study.
And you've actually been doing this from the very beginning almost, right?
Yes. Except that there wasn't much recognition. People will wonder, if you tell a story, although this is a tale, right? At one student, Rosalind, I was doing linguistics, I got some grant. My interest also in this mobile phone radiation, right? People are worried about from the mobile phone station and all that. Wonder into people's perception of the risk, how to communicate risk. So when the linguistic, even social science, people tend to look at me, hey, who is this? Like, I'm an alien coming over here. What? You're from medicine, why don't you come over to my faculty? So we still have that barrier, right? Very well defined. Oh, I'm social science, I'm engineering, I'm medicine. It's interesting. They sort of look at me pretty suspicious, like a spy. And that is a very difficult. Even I'm the co-supervisor. She registered for a PhD in linguistics. Also quite difficult. Took a year to convince them I could be a co-supervisor, because the fault with me is I don't have an MA. I don't have an MA, so therefore I can't. So those were the thinking then. It's interesting, but now it's totally different, right? We just cross so often when we find people doing, and that is interesting. So that was part of my so-called frustration then, right? And Rosalind, now she's a lecturer in Xiamen University. She was a tailor, doing well. So look back, we can laugh over it.
Prof, I want to ask you a little bit later on about your mentees, the many people that you've mentored. But first, let me go back to some of the questions that we have here. So we have one question here. This is about the International Mentoring Program. So the question is, when did it start? And what are the main activities delivered? And how do you rate the impact of that International Mentoring Program?
It started about 5 years ago, quite informally. We didn't have even today, we didn't have a proper structure. We didn't have a board of directors or anything. It's basically me and a few who were conned by me to join me or persuaded them. They're very good from Australia, from the US, and now others come. There are some are guest mentors as well. So most time we do is e-mentoring in a session, very much the dialogue. We use Zoom or one of those meetings. Then we have various like mini projects, something put together to write some papers. And a group of them very good, led by the Latin American students on women in physics. So we published that in the journal, and they took part in conference presentations and others as well. So eventually, it's empower them. No time now is left their own to organize, to invite guest speakers, guest mentors, and also in the technical field. I say they're doing research. One of them is on radiation dose measurement, and you have access to those mentors, and the mentor can in turn recommend the expert from the field to help them. So these are all benefits of that. But most important thing, all you can see like a melting pot. I can see our Asian students from Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and then the Latin America. You see that they behave differently. They're different chemistry, different psychology. Right? But anyway, they now understand it is good, right? East meets West. The dialogue, the cultural dialogue is important. I'm really happy with that. They understand each other's culture much better, and there are in fact a lot more joining us. So it's rather informal. There's no fees to pay, no registration fees or whatever it is. One feel free to leave, but it's quite interesting. After that, the original 16 or so still remain. Some are more active than others. It's good. One question about how to assess. Basically, I answered that, right? The fact that they remain and they participate and they recommend their friends to join. And I see that some are student, master, PhD, some just graduate looking for jobs, some are doing postdoc. So different, so they exchange news, they support each other. And that is very good. And I hope that this serves as a model for other disciplines, for engineering or for humanity to start that. That would be excellent. I hope that before the pandemic starts in the lockdown, we met them in conferences. Like I was in Brazil or Kuala Lumpur, Indonesia. So we have a good chance to share, to have laugh over a meal or drink. That is wonderful.
You were saying earlier, Prof, before we actually came online for this webinar, that it's actually so much nicer if we could have a physical kind of meeting. So I guess that plays very much into how you develop your relationships with your mentees, that you meet up with them, as you say, you go out for drinks and makan.
Yeah, exactly. The relationship is important. It's all this is in my collaboration. All this is about relationship. It's so important. About relationship, you have the trust. It's important because they've proven that all this, they're people of high integrity. We are doing respectable, ethical research published. But along the way, you have more relationship, become friends. You know their families, and many of them I know them for a long time in conferences, or I visit them and I travel. But that is very important. I believe this is must be emphasized because as we go along, we're becoming so IT dependent. Everything is so distant, so emotionless. Instead of using so-called human intelligence, we let artificial trying to take over us. So that would devoid any this. So the human, as T.S. Eliot said, I really love that poem, right? What is this life we lost? Right? We have all information on the phone, everything in there, but you look at the life, life meaningful, satisfying. It's good to think about that.
Prof, would you say that, it's this mindset that you have? Is that possibly perhaps some elements that actually help to make you what you are today, help you to be the top 50 medical physicists in the world, help you to win a very prestigious Mary Skłodowska-Curie Award, and of course the Merdeka Award, on top of all your scientific contributions?
First, I didn't aim for those. I never I want to win this and that. Never in my mind. It's better that way. It comes as a surprise. Huh? It comes, it's going, doesn't. So you don't have that kind of expectation. So your life wouldn't be so miserable for that. I told a lot of people, it's not like entering a competition to win. That was an honor. It's nominated and they were awarded with that. So I look at that way. It is important. Also, what we want to do is very much our choice. We have a lot of abilities. Right? So many great people around, top scientists. But what we want is a choice. I remember I used to watch Harry Potter. Do you watch Harry Potter?
Just the first one.
So, my grandchildren, right? This Dumbledore, the great guru, talking to Harry Potter. It's about, yeah, it's about your choices. It is not about your abilities. That is what makes. So always have great abilities to do things, but it's our choice what we want to do in our life. But I happen to grow up. I mean, it's through try and error or ups and downs. It's very much is service orientated to give to help people. It's very much ingrained in me and my wife family too. So it's not so much of like calculative or do this or something return. So in that way, like people come to me to get advice, I will freely give them or direct them to wherever it is. So that is how I see myself in that direction. The service, the giving.
It's very humbling to hear that, Prof, because in this day and age, as we're chasing whatever that we need to chase, as we chase KPIs, as we chase, I suppose, positions, as we chase numbers, at the end of the day, though, as you just shared, it's actually more about the service at the end of that.
Yeah, it's service towards humankind. You brought a point, it's good. I missed that out. I was fortunate though when I started my academic career. It wasn't fortunate like many who got sent to do PhD, come back, become a lecturer, but I didn't come from that route. So it's scientific professor, was a tutor, and then work elsewhere and come back. Early days, we have no KPI. There's no how many paper, there's no WOSRS. So you do what you want. And also early days, there's also no research grant. It's unheard of to have RA for chemical. Now I envy the young ones that have grant to employ RA. There we did everything ourselves, everything. We wash test tubes, we do cut things, we carry things, and also it's a good as well. Right? Those who are motivated, they can do more. Because UNICEF will tell you matter how many papers and impact factors non-existent those days. So that was, in a way, fortunate. Today I pity those and struggle for this KPI, the media quota.
Well, Prof, for the younger academics today, those who aspire to achieve academic leadership as you have, being somebody who is a leader in your field, somebody that mentors others, what would your advice be to charting their academic destiny?
Yeah. This Dumbledore to Harry Potter, right? Is your choice. If you want, you must prepare. I show the path is not that smooth. It is challenging, obstacles. So you must prepare for that. It's a long haul, not 1 or 2 years. And that is, if you set your heart to that, just go for that. As my chemistry teacher told, right? Just excel in whatever you do. Not, it doesn't mean that you have everyone to be an academic leader. You can be a leader in other fields as well. One can be a very good institutional leader, or organization, a different way. We see a lot of leaders even amongst the administrative staff as well, very good in that. So we must see it that way. Unfortunately, the world we see leader as someone with all the degrees, all the titles, and a lot of money as well, wealth and all that. It will not necessarily mean that way. And even in the NGOs, we see a lot of great leaders who sacrifice their time, the resource to help the poor people or the marginalized people. These are leaders as well. So we need to learn from these people. Being in the academic leaders doesn't mean we are tied up on top of the pedestal, but we also need to go down. That's why I enjoy travel. It's in Nepal. I really stay with the people, very see how they live, the condition. Really think to realize, oh, this is how they live, how they struggle. Lest I forget, we take things for granted. That is very, very important.
Very important thing to keep in mind. Yeah. Prof, I have another question again about the idea of leadership and the people that you've mentored. But before that, I'll turn to another question that we have here. We'd like to know, Prof, how do we balance time between research and going into industry for consultation?
In my early part, I did quite a bit of consultation with this quality assurance, but now less so. It's difficult to say that the balance is all depends on what you want. But I know in some disciplines, the industrial experience is very important, like those in engineering, computer science. So you need to work with the industry. Imagine you are just, the university is normally referred to as ivory tower, you just focus and not knowing what's happening in the real world. So that is important. You can spend more time. And now university recognizes more, right, the university industrial linkage. And the top universities in the world, in US, in China, Singapore, all have very strong linkage. The industry provide funding, the opportunity. So that is important. As to the balance percentage, it's up to your decision and your discipline, how you want to shape your own future.
For you yourself, Prof, how have you balanced that research and going out, I suppose, to society?
I now have a bit more freedom, to have more time with the society. So a lot of work I do is more, I don't really quite bother with cake and all this. I more than enough, but I enjoy, like, I begin to collaborate with social science department, with others, to look at things that is beyond, look at the history and science, technology, society. So I'm not so dictated by my mainstream, my work, so I can expand on that. So I begin to spend quite a bit of time, probably more than half on that, and starting various collaborating research with those people, writing another book, or also I'm quite interested to go back to books for children and different things. So it's good to be in academia. So we have a bit of freedom. We indulge in our hobbies. Remember it says, right, we are being paid to what we enjoy doing. I know some of the great academic leaders, they are great. They start to learn how to draw, painting, singing, dancing.
I was very intrigued, Prof, when you showed those books that you wrote. They're so accessible, and they're so accessible and easy to read, and it's not academic. I'm just wondering, Prof, what interested you to go and to write books like that?
I'm from young interest in drawing, sketching, drawing, but it's all driven by more interest than anything else. But those things don't count, by the way, for our CV, right? This is something extracurricular, so-called. And in the early days, people frown on me. Why, you're a lecturer in medical, you're doing this. Well, I guess that's me, and and today this won't happen, right? In fact, we encourage what is called the blue sky a blue ocean, open sky, right? The sky's the limit to what you want, as long as you enjoy doing and you have some benefit to society. I know I'm amazed. I met someone is a lecturer. He said, "Oh, Prof, when I was young, I read your book."
Oh, that is so sweet.
I was totally shocked. Oh, yeah. They say the mothers still keep those books.
How do you feel when somebody comes and tells you that?
Oh, really, it is so satisfying. It's just unbelievable. And that is the good things about it. You can't explain the kind of joy we have. These people benefit. And I wish to upgrade the Kamus Vibhasa that's needed. Hopefully, convince some people to join me.
That would be very useful. I think schools and children would be, and teachers definitely would be very, very grateful and appreciative of something like that, because it's hard, I think, to find a really good resource like that now. Prof, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that this, those things that you do, it actually brings you joy. I wanted to ask about, I imagine you probably find a lot of joy in mentoring others, because you have mentored so many. So I wanted to know, how did you kind of like fall into becoming a mentor? What was your first or early mentorship experience?
First, I have good mentors like Prof. Louis and Prof. Cameron. So I benefit from them. And I make it a point that I really want to continue with this tradition or legacy to mentor others. And the joy, the happiness, you really have to experience yourself. Like if I see some of the mentees, they're doing well, publish a new paper or they're successful in grant, and you share the joy with them, and that it's just wonderful. Many of them is good. They send me a note, they call me and explain or share with me. And for some of them, like one is experiencing a lot of mental distress now, almost burnout, and she's been texting me quite a lot. The young girl. So we do what we can to support. And I think the University Research Service system to support our students, even our junior colleagues, is so important. It's a support system. It's needed to mentor them, to yourself as a guide. You are a cheerleader. You lend your shoulder someone to cry upon, whatever it is.
Prof, I think so many, I'm sure, are very, very grateful to have been mentored by you. I myself am very humbled and honored that I actually get to sit and speak with you today in this very, very humble setting that we have.
Yeah.
So, Prof, thank you so very much for spending your time to actually come to ADAC and speak and do this webinar for the community. We really appreciate it. And before we say goodbye to everybody, would you have any important parting messages that you would like to share?
Thank you, first of all, for enduring that 1.5 hours listening to me, telling story, a tale of academic leadership, right, from Kwan Hoong. I hope that some of these points I remember, like from Gandhi, from Saint Asbury, about the enabling, right? You need to constantly think upon and how this inspires and move us to action, and this is so important. And all the more now with this COVID-19 pandemic, and this isn't going away quite, so we really need that to strengthen ourselves, to build up. So yeah, that some of this is really not really necessary build up to leadership in academia, but also could be leadership in other aspects in your professional life as well. So to hope that you benefited from some of my personal experiences and some of the principles that I live by. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Please be sure to fill up the feedback form. I think somebody will soon share it in the meeting chat. But in the meantime, thank you, and we really hope that this wonderful tale that Prof. Ng has shared with us would inspire and motivate all of us, me included, to start our own tale in academia. Thank you so much again, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mira, Firdaus, and thank you all. Bye-bye, and have a good week and be safe.
Thank you, Prof. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.